welcome back to another episode of Homefront Harmony. I am your host, Stevie Dahl. We are excited to have you join us today. We have a very cool guest. Now, you all have seen Brian Jenson's episode, and you learned about transitioning out of the military. Well, we were sneaky, and we went and got his better half. Ladies and gentlemen, may I please introduce you to the beautiful and wonderful Ms. Maggie. How are you, my dear?
I'm good. Oh, what an intro. Thank you. I'm so excited, and just being able to kind of come in and help resonate with any of the Army spouse listeners is really important to me. But
okay,
I love that Brian was already here.
All military spouses count here.
Oh,
all
yes.
branches.
Okay.
I love it. So would you just kind of give the audience an idea about who you are, yourself, a little bit about you, and then we'll delve into the whole military spouse world.
Yeah, so I am a Kansas girl. We live here in Vegas now, but I was born actually on Fort Riley. I'm an Army brat, so
keeping it in the family.
Yeah, right. And moved around a lot. 2 older siblings. Just kind of had a Midwestern bring up, and then went to North Carolina. My dad was at Fort Bragg, so moved around a little bit, but kind of always called Kansas home. That's where my grandparents live. So ended up going back, finishing high school, going to college there in Topeka, Kansas. Met my husband in by Fort Leavenworth in Kansas City. Okay. And we've been married for about 8 years almost now. So
wow.
Yeah.
Look at you. Sassy. Coming up on my 7-year with my husband in March.
Oh, look at us. We're almost in sync.
I know. It's fabulous. So you had a little military perspective, being the daughter of a service member. Thank your father for his service. Thank your husband for his service. Thank you for your service as a hero on the home front.
Thank you.
But it's a real different dynamic. I mean, just watching my mother versus me being the daughter, it's such a different dynamic. Was there like almost a learning curve when you became a military spouse?
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting that you bring that up. It was this learning curve of like, it's much different when it's your father, or even like my grandfather was in the military as well. And so it's much different when it's that relationship, dependent versus romantic dependent.
Yeah.
Very different. I did have to adjust, but I felt like I was really well developed for that. Like I caught on quick, and I was able to see kind of like the good in it. I was able to take my perspective and say, okay, this is going to be a cool adventure for us to get to know this lifestyle together, not just as, him being a bachelor in the military and then me being an Army brat. We're going to be able to kind of develop our own culture together in our relationship. And it doesn't have to look like what I saw with my parents. Unfortunately, that didn't end well. They divorced my dad's deployments and things like that. It didn't go well. And I almost had that block up of like, this is what deployments could do to a marriage. This is what the military service could do. And then I said, you know what? That's what it could do for other people, but for us, we can get creative and have fun with this.
There you go. I love it.
Yeah.
I will say that a big key I watched in my parents' marriage, and part of how they handled, he was Navy, so going out to sea and dealing with those kind of things, a lot of it was the sense of humor that my parents took into the relationship, the jokes, the way they played, the way they did things. We were just laughing about, because my husband and I are coming up on some big birthdays. And so I'm different. I love my birthday constantly, all the time. I don't care what age I am. I love it. My husband is like, I could take it or leave it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And my mom said that like when this stuff was happening, because we're getting AARP stuff in the mail. Little soon, people, but okay. And my mom said that she and my dad, that was one thing for them, like, because it bothered her, but they would joke about the fact that, okay, we're getting AARP. It's, how silly is this? We're not that play. And I think that helps, that mental balance with your spouse, that tagging together on that is so huge.
Yeah, lightheartedness with the things that you can't control that. You can't control. You should celebrate aging. You should celebrate moves. You should celebrate all these different changes in life. and not take it so seriously. So I think your parents were onto something. That's what we're trying to do too.
I love it.
Just have fun with it. Have fun with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it to death. Okay. I consider you a sweetheart and my friend right now. Okay. So I'm just going to help you really quick because there's this tiny little hair.
Oh, please do. Thank you.
Tiny little hair right here.
Yeah, let's tame that.
Okay. There you
Yay.
go.
Thank
Yay. Because it was going to go in your eye and that was going to be bad. Okay. All right.
You got my back. Thank
I
you.
do, girl. I do. That's what we do. So let's talk about, we're going to kind of start back and get from you helpful hints.
Yeah.
If someone is new to military spouse world, or let's say they're about to become a military spouse, some helpful hints for them as they make that adjustment into the world.
Yeah.
Because it is a different world.
It is. It's like being immersed in somewhere that's been around you this whole time, but you've never really been in the bubble. And then you're like, whoa, it's like an alternate universe that's been around.
It is. Yes.
So yeah. So let's do it.
Tell me, what would you say to someone? Say we have someone who's just gotten married or about to get married to step into this life. What kind of best practices, what kind of guidance or advice would you give to them to help them? Because it's a lot to step into.
Yeah. So I would say from learned experience, trial and error, is to embrace your role and your identity as a military spouse. Get involved in these spouse groups. Get involved on base so that if you have never grown up around military life, you start to understand the culture of it. But also spend time building your own identity and like continuing to build rather your own identity because we move every 2 to 3 years. So that little culture that you've created, that's going to change. So what are you going to bring with you? Your habits, your hobbies, your interests, even your work. How are you going to build that career or, stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad? How are you going to build that identity so that you aren't totally dependent, codependent on your spouse for value and this is who I am and without you, I'm nobody. I think I had to really step in and say, yes, I'm your wife, but I'm also going to be this entirely independent person.
Yes.
And I think that, takes a little off of the military member.
Yes.
Who is having to do all these things at work, follow chain of command, show up for their orders. It takes a little bit of weight off of them so then they're happy in the relationship too because they know when they're not at home, you're okay.
Yeah. And this is a huge thing that I love to talk about mental health because it's such a big part of what it is. And it is so easy for a military spouse to lose their identity in the military life. And you can support your spouse. You can be proud of your spouse. You can be right there by their side and still have your own individuality, your own life, your own job, your own work you did. My mother was a dental. She worked in dental. And when we would move, she'd find a job and she'd keep doing it. And we moved to Denver and there was no dental. So she ended up being admin in the Navy in their marketing department because that was where they needed the help kind of thing. But every time my dad was up for anything, she was right by his side. She was right with him. It's levels of leadership. Okay. For me, it's that balance because the military service member needs to focus on what they're doing, especially if they're deployed. You don't want them worrying about you back home. You want them focused on keeping themselves safe and their fellow service members safe. You got it handled at home, they're not going to worry about it. So that's your charge. That's why I call military spouses heroes on the home front. Because they are. Because they're running the show there when they do it. Now, you guys are getting to a point now where Brian's getting ready to transition out.
Yeah.
Which means now you get to go through another change.
Yeah.
Another change.
This one's exciting and mysterious. I have no idea what's in store.
So how are you as the military spouse prepping for his transition out of service?
Okay, well, I do have to bring in a little bit of like my own career, my own thought patterns and everything I work.
Please, this show is about you, my dear. Talk about you.
Well, thank you. I work my own business. I coach and I mentor people, largely based in mental health. And something that I really advocate for is finding something to do that you're very passionate about. A lot of my clients struggle with drinking, and to kind of take our mind off of alcohol or sobriety, it's put your mind to what you want in your life, what kind of job, what kind of identity, all of these things, right? So as Brian is getting closer to his retirement, he's kind of starting to, I see like his mind saying, well, I could do this. This is a path that I kind of know I would succeed.
Yeah.
This is a path I know I would succeed. But when he's talking about them, he's not really lit up about it. Right. It's just like, I could do this. I could do that. And I'm like, babe, this is your chance to do whatever your heart longs for.
Right.
So my position right now, I'm just like that little voice in his ear of like, dream big.
Right.
Like, what do you want to do?
Find your passion.
You still have 20, 30, 40 years to live out dreams. And
he's going to be working a very long time.
I know. I'm like, I also do encourage him. I'm like, you could take a year off and grow a man bun. Like, think about it. Like
I want Brian to have a man bun.
I think he deserves like a year to not shave his beard, maybe put some dreads in it, like all of the things. Be lazy, unstructured, because gosh darn, he did West Point, then he did, all of his time. You deserve time to relax. But in that, I want to cultivate this creative flow of like, instead of just doing what the man tells you, your commander tells you, what the army tells you, like this is your chance to literally take life by the horns and do whatever, like wake up like a kid on Christmas morning to do whatever you want. So I'm trying to like life coach him into a new career path.
You're doing
and I'm like,
great.
I'm sorry, babe. Like, I'm sure you're annoyed by this. He's like, I could just go like probably get a job at Amazon. I'm like, do not say that. That's not what you want. I don't see the light in your eyes.
Right.
So do something, like keep thinking about it until you realize what you do want. I think he's been so focused on just what he has to do. That's military culture. What you have to do, you get it done. Now it's what do you want to do?
Right. Yeah, I was telling him that I was raised with the you jump and then you ask how high.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And that's what you do in the military. And it's not a problem to it. Now, okay, so two things. One, you said you want him to grow a man bun, grow out a beard, and get dreads. Are you making him a pirate? Are you making him Jack Sparrow? Okay.
Maybe a little Jack Sparrow mixed with like reggae,
Okay. You know what? When you get that pulled off, you show me pictures.
I know.
We're going to be the first to break it here. I love that. Now, and two, passion is such a huge part of life.
Yeah.
Now, okay, everybody thinks passion, they automatically go to the romantic side, and that's great, and that's wonderful. And please, woohoo, go. What I'm saying, though, is you got to be passionate about what you do. You got to love what you do. And I think that it's great as the spouse that you aren't letting him limit his possibilities or his opportunities, because sometimes it is that they're caught in this is what I do, this is how I go, this is where it is, and they have a dream. My mother let my father do whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah.
He did consultant work with glass companies. He did training on how to use computer systems to do consultant work on glass companies. We made B movies together. He did acting. He did all kinds of stuff because that's where he was and that's what he wanted to do. And he liked that freedom.
Yeah.
That dance around it. And once he got used to it, now he still had certain things that were just military in him that were never going to ever change.
I think, that's true for a lot of them.
Yeah. And my mother has some military spouse stuff in her that will never, ever dissipate. And I love that. I think it's great. And it's given me my work ethic and how I am on things. But love the mental health thing. Let's talk about the mental health thing big time. Because for me, this is huge. You've dealt with Brian traveling a lot. Have you been through any deployments?
Yes.
How many deployments has he been on since you've been together?
Luckily, I've only been on with him for one of his deployments. It was actually his 5th deployment.
Okay.
But 4 of them were before we met. So a lot of those actually happened, before the era of social media, cell phones. They were him writing letters to his mom or calling and like having the field phone. Hey, 30 seconds to call. I'll talk to you in 3 weeks. Like that happened before our time together. When he was deployed, excuse me, it was actually right after we got married. It was 2017 to 2018. And we were able to use WhatsApp, 9.5 hour difference, which was weird. But, we were able to create a schedule. So we were able to talk. Yeah,
That's good. That's good. I remember when my dad would go out to sea, when we lived in Guam, he went out to sea every summer.
Yeah.
And in the middle of that 3-month, I'm going roughly 3 month, when they were out at sea, he would get one phone call to the house. And it was, now I'm old people, okay? So we're talking, this was like, in the 80s, early 80s. And it was the old, out of the movie, are you there? Sounding like they're far away in the background when we talk. And what was awful was, you got so excited for the phone call. Yay! And then when he hung up, you missed him more.
Yeah.
Because you heard him.
Yeah.
And it was like, ugh. And I appreciate so much now that I think the fact that you're able to talk to him more helped a little with it,
immensely. I feel for the people who experienced that separation where it was letters or those once in a month, once in a quarter phone calls. Like we have it so good now.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And it helps them to know you're okay, which is good for them to have on it. And it helps you to stay strong because you get to hear their voice and know
that they're
okay.
safe. Know that they're safe. Yeah.
It's because my parents, when my dad was in Vietnam, they were writing letters back and forth, and they would get in a fight through the mail, okay? And the letters would come late. So she would respond to one of his letters that he was mad and she got mad at something. And then she got the apology letter that was supposed to come before she sent her letter. So then she had to send the apology letter thing. And they joked about it later in life. But at the time, it was just like, that's what you do.
Think about the patience that they had.
Oh
like waiting, like fighting via letters.
The thing was, what was awesome about my parents is once they met, they wanted to get married. Yeah. They knew. Like my dad proposed to my mom on the 3rd date. He had his brother set up all these dates. He was on leave for 30 days. He did 2 tours in Vietnam. He was gone 1 year. He came back for 30 days, and he was gone the next year. My uncle set up 30 dates for him, one every night. He met my mom. He went out with my mom. He wanted to cancel the other dates. His mother said, no, you have to go out with those girls. So he'd go out with the girls. He'd feign sickness. Be like, oh, sorry.
This is like a Nicholas Sparks movie.
And then he'd come back, and then he would take my mom out, and they'd stay out till however in the morning. He'd go home, sleep for an hour, and go work the construction site because his dad owned a construction company kind of thing. So it was so funny, but they were going to get married before he went.
It's also funny how in on it your whole family was. Like planning
I love this
your
story.
mom. Like that is so, like that it seems like a movie
story.
for
I'm like,
sure.
this is the coolest thing ever. And so they wanted to get married before he went back. And my mom's dad, my grandpa, actually said, give him a reason to come home. Oh. Give him a reason to come back.
Yeah.
And it took until I became older to realize that was one of the coolest mental health tips. Mm-hmm. Because that's what it was. Give him something. And when he came back, he said, marry me today. And my mother said, give me 2 weeks, I can pull it off. And that's why they were married October 17th of 1970.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Coming up on the anniversary.
It is. It is one of the coolest love stories that I've ever known in my life. And it is one of my favorite things to tell people about because I love that. And I think that we get in a world nowadays where it is so separated and so different. And they don't understand sometimes. We think that the love stories of old don't happen anymore, but they do. They still happen, Yeah. I mean, look at you and Brian, making it work, having it happy and, enjoying being together in it. And that is a key to it about that. And that is actually something that you both contribute to. Again, it has to be both parties,
it's partnership.
Yeah.
We're best friends, romantic, but also like we see each other as like, hey, we're in this together. So it's some days one of us carrying a little bit more, the other carrying a little bit less, and other days it's like, okay, a trade-off, but that's what makes it beautiful and fun.
Okay, so who's the more patient one?
Him.
Yeah.
I was gonna like say like sometimes it's just him.
No, I go 0 to ticked really quick.
Yeah. He jokes that Patience is my middle name. Eventually I'll get there.
I love it.
He's like, oh yeah, because that's your middle name. You love waiting. You love being patient. But with that, going back to deployments and, being able to communicate in WhatsApp, like I can't imagine having a fight and having to wait 2 weeks or, a month before I get them the message back from him.
Yep.
But to even go back further, when you were saying, it's a really big portion of our job if they're deployed to make sure that they know we're okay.
Yeah.
And I will say that was something that I got really strong in when he was deployed was choosing what I vent to him about, choosing, which made my mental health better.
Yeah.
Choosing what to bring to his attention if it's not within his control, if he can't do a thing about it, except for listen to my emotions, maybe I should take my emotions to my best friend or, know.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
Yeah, like somebody who I don't need to put that weight on him. And that was, we were separated for almost our entire first year of marriage physically, but like that was a good kind of pick your battle marital lesson.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
that still in my mind, I'm like, is this something that I need to... Now, once he's retired, he better believe he's going to sit next to the couch and listen to me about all my feelings.
Oh, it's on.
Yeah.
Bring
like,
it.
I wouldn't tell you about this when you were like serving our country and everything, but now that you have all the free time in the world, let's talk.
You're strong. It's okay.
Yeah.
Let's bring it. Yeah. No, I love that you said, pick battles. My old boss, I loved him to death, and he used to say... He was from the UK, and he would say, love, pick and choose your battles, and this is a battle I choose not to pick.
Yeah.
And I liked that version of that saying because it was like, it's true. You choose which ones you're going to go after where you're not.
Yeah. And I think it also teaches your brain of like, what's going to blow over and what do you not need to just create a catastrophe out of? And
what's going to, sometimes when we vent, There's a couple different variances people like to do with venting, okay? A vent is supposed to be, I'm frustrated about something. I tell you about it. I get it off my chest. I have vented. I calm down. I'm better. A lot of times with people, they're going to vent that vent to about 48 different people, keeping it achieving a higher level of irritation as it goes to the next person kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you don't know what that's going to do to that other person. You don't know. And especially like, Brian reminds me a lot of my husband he knows I'm a strong woman.
Yep.
He knows I can handle stuff, but by God, nobody better mess with me. Or he will protect me at all costs, and if I vent something to him for the patient man he is, it can sometimes push him a little. He'd be like, well, do you need me to come over there? Do I need to step in here kind of thing, which I love and I think is cool as all get out. But you have to understand that, that what you're spreading.
We love that the chivalry is still there.
Right.
But to see our man all spun up.
Right.
For Brian, he gets angry that he can't do anything about it. So then he gets frustrated and it's not at me. It's not at really the situations that nothing I can do. Like, I'm just going to sit here and be worried now.
Right.
And so it's like, I know. They want to come in and save the day and sometimes they can't.
Oh, yeah.
So.
and the thing is, what you forget sometimes is the weight of what they already carry.
Yeah.
It's
easy to forget that stuff.
Everybody has their own stuff on their shoulder. And so trying to carry yours as well. It's a whole dynamic to it that happens. And I will 1,000 times over, my husband is far better at that than me. I'm the one that I'm going to get in your face. And I'm still trying to learn not to do that.
Your face right now. You're like, oopsies.
I'm only 48 years old. One day. Life is full of lessons. This is what we learn and how we grow.
Yes.
So let's talk about how having your own business, having your own career, Elaine, that has helped you as a military spouse as you progress through it, that identity of your success in that world.
Yeah, where do we start? Well, it was, I guess, to kind of open up why I started the business. Before that, when Brian and I met, I was climbing the corporate ladder for Hooters. And I was, what you got to say? Say it. Are you an ex-Hooters girl?
God, no.
Oh, is that look? Okay.
I don't have the tone to be able to handle the guests at Hooters.
Yeah.
There is no filter.
You would
here.
do great because you are sassy.
Oh, I would talk some.
It's weird. Dudes love that. But
I have made grown men cry. I have.
That doesn't surprise me. If you would do it with like a smile and other people would be like, she's being nice. They would think that.
What is it my best friend said? As long as your eyes don't turn gray. If the irises of your eyes turn gray like a gun, we are screwed.
That's when we know.
It's too far.
That's when we know. But so I was working at Hooters and I was traveling. I was the day that I met my husband, I was in a manager position, but I was doing bar training, opening new stores.
Okay.
Helping with the corporate training teams. And so when I met him, it was kind of like love at first sight. We're going to get married. I have this job where there's Hooters all over the world. Wherever we go, I could just find a Hooters, a region to do their corporate training, blah, blah, blah. So it seemed like I could still maintain my identity with being an Army spouse. Well, then my lifestyle got out of control. I really liked to drink a lot back then. And so I had to step down from Hooters. And I was like in this transition mode. Brian and I were about to move to here in Sin City, Las Vegas.
Okay.
Quarantine was hitting and I was just like, I need something for my mental health.
Fair.
To focus on my identity, who I am. Mm-hmm. It was being Brian's wife and Hooters Girl of the Year, blah, blah, blah. Well, now the Hooters stuff, I ruined that.
Right.
I need to do something for myself so that I can still feel good about being Brian's wife. And so it was in quarantine and then in the move that I started to build my certifications for fitness, nutrition, behavior change. And these were all things that were always on the back burner. But I never really believed in myself to say I could start my own business. I always just thought I had to do it for somebody else, right? And it was that gave me confidence of like, no matter where we go, it's not going to be me relying on Hooters or some corporation or me being able to find a position. I've created that position that I can carry now wherever we go. We had the idea that we would probably stay here. Brian would retire out here. But for me, it felt good to know, even if something changes in 3 to 5 years and we do physically move, we PCS somewhere else, I still have something that I'm passionate about, something that I'm committed to, invested in, something that is like the personification of me, my soul.
Yes.
I get to take that with me wherever now. And I think even though in the back of my mind when I was at Hooters, I thought like I can go wherever. Mm-hmm. There is still a limit. And there's sometimes, just this idea of like, well, I'm still relying on this restaurant or, what is that? That's my identity. That's my whole thing. And so I think when you just start going after the things that you want, if that's building a business, something that's authentic to you, then it just makes everything better. And so anytime the military, you could say, brought up a challenge or a hurdle, I felt okay because I still had my things happening. Yeah. And I knew Brian would be okay. And he makes the best decisions. So whatever happens,
I love it. So a couple of things real quick for those that would be newer to the military life.
Yeah.
You brought up my company calls it PSC, and I know it's PCS.
It's the acronyms.
I know.
They get you.
So let them know what that is.
Yeah. So PCS, permanent change of station. With the Army, I believe most branches are a similar timeline, but the Army is usually about every 2 to 3 years, sometimes 5 years. The service member will get an opportunity, aka be forced, to change stations, change their military orders. They're going to go to a new Fort Bragg, Fort Riley. They're going to go to a new assignment, a new job slot. And usually there's like, for the service member, some sort of requirement. This job is for you to hone these skills. This job is for your career development in this capacity. And so, they're following their own little progression.
Right.
But you're following with them geographically as they're filling these new spots. But something that's really cool that Brian and I were able to take advantage of was, when we found out that he was going to be PCSing, we would be PCSing from Savannah in 2020, we were able to sit down, and I think all branches do this as well. Army will give you the opportunity to actually outline your dream spots, create your list.
Yeah.
And they'll give you this big list of, say, if my husband being an artillery officer, these are the positions available. These are the duty stations. Create a wish list, 1 through 10, 1 being your most favored, 10 being, you'd be happy, but it's your 10th choice. And we were able to put Vegas as number 1, and we got it. So
there you go.
A lot of times there's going to be times in your career, I'm saying it like it was me.
Well, it's
this
a
is a
partnership.
spiel from Brian.
Yeah,
but
you're in it.
There's times when you will get duty stations that are like, he wasn't totally stoked about being in Oklahoma, Fort Carson, or not Fort Carson. I can't remember which one it is in Oklahoma, but he wasn't totally excited about being there. But he also got to be in England, and he got to be in Germany, and all of these beautiful exotic places.
Yeah.
So, I think hopefully most people can get really exciting PCSs throughout their career, but sometimes you got to just deal with the ones that maybe aren't as entertaining.
So my dad, there was the South Pacific. My mom and my dad loved the South Pacific. So we actually were in Australia twice. And when he went to retire, he tried to get sent back.
So
they were like,
there.
"You shouldn't have gotten to go twice, dude."
Yeah.
It's the way it goes, the way it works out.
Yeah.
You balance that. One of the things that I love is being authentic to yourself, being true to yourself. And one thing that I think gets lost sometimes with military spouses and they don't understand is every person needs to build their brand. Okay.
Yeah.
And whether you are in the corporate world, climbing the ladder, you're still building your brand in that environment. No matter where you are, as a spouse, that identity, that brand of who you are is going to help you so much. It's going to keep you strong. It's going to help you to do what you need to do to support your spouse while they do what they need to do. It's a whole thing that I think for a long time, people didn't register. People didn't check with it. I've had a lot of military spouses that were just like, well, my identity was their identity. Because my mother, it's a little spitfire, just saying, was strong and was independent and did her things. My dad would always constantly say, if there's an emergency, your mom's got to be the one. Yeah. Because she just did. She just handled it as a spouse. She just took it on. She just ran with it because she had to. There were times she was a single parent because he was deployed, and she handled it like a pro and did it amazing. And I think helped my sister and I cultivate who we are, watching her, seeing what we liked, taking what we did and, what we didn't, how we'd handle differently, how you grow to it. So I want it to be authentic to you when you build a brand, because here's the deal. Whether we're using the word failure, we're using mistake, whatever word you're going to use, it is okay. Maggie is a true representation of that. Okay, there was a little slip up there. That wasn't quite what I needed to go. Readjust, rework it, take a deep breath, come back, come again and do it right.
Reattack.
You never, ever want to give up on it. You can always find the right path. Now, I think what is great, though, is the mentoring. You talked about life coach. You talked about what you do. Mentoring is so key.
Yeah. That never dawned on me before I started realizing I think I might need mentoring. And then now I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the ultimate life hack.
Yeah, because you're not alone.
Yeah.
And if you can find a mentor who has been through something, whether it's the same thing you have or a similar situation, so they understand and can help guide you and pull you out of that. Because the key is to know you're not alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really in kind of conditioned, as I think a lot of us are, to like get information from books. I was very studious in school. I loved acing my 4.0, like all honor roll, like, you know, remembering things from books and gaining intellectual knowledge. I was very big on that, but I knew all these things and I acted differently, right? I acted against what I knew intellectually.
Right.
And it wasn't until I worked with mentors that I realized they have integrated what they know with what they're doing, and they're doing things I want to do. So why would I read out of a book versus ask somebody who knows the book but also integrates it in their life? How are they integrating it? What are the gray areas where the book might not cover that that information? How real life application? They've done this, this, and this. I want to do those 3 things. I'm going to go to somebody who's done those things. Yeah. And so, it's been an eye-opening, like quantum leap life hack.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like, I mean, you've talked about, because you interact with people with addictions and what they're dealing with. So I was a smoker. Okay. My father had smoked my whole life. He smoked since I was 18. He smoked until towards the end. And I decided I was going to quit. And it was quite simply, one day I was like, geez, I have a headache and I don't feel good. And that was it. And I didn't smoke from that point on. Down. It was just done. But it was because for me, it was more than just in my head. Oh, I need to do this. It connected in my heart. Oh, I'm ready to do this.
Yeah. The emotional drive, and that's from the subconscious mind versus just the conscious mind saying smoking's bad for you.
Right.
I want to quit smoking. Okay. That's not going to happen until something in your body shifts. Yes. Your heart's in it, your gut's in it. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm not going to lie. You can crave. Yeah. Still get cravings. I don't like the smell of it anymore unless it's like a really good brand and somebody walks by me. Most of the time I could, even when I smoked, I could tell you what brand of cigarette somebody was smoking. I'm that sensitive of smell. But every once in a while there's occasions when Dad was sick. I told my husband that took a lot. And it wasn't the cigarette themselves. It was that I would step away and escape and stop and breathe.
That's what it did for you.
That was what it was. It was that I took the moment.
It gave you the reprieve, the escape, the ability to step out of the stress for just a moment.
Yep.
And that's what the brain connects it with. So, yeah.
And it's like, I'm bad, okay? I don't take lunch breaks. I eat at my desk. I don't, like when I smoked, I would take a break in the morning. Then I would take before lunch, after lunch, in the afternoon, on the ride home. I would have this time where I detox with it, which is funny because I was putting toxins in my body. But still, I said to myself, I am going to make sure I take the breaks. I'm still working on that. It hasn't quite accomplished yet.
Well, what would you do on those breaks, though?
That's why I don't take them.
Yeah. So, okay, here's the thing, though. That's smart. Like, you're doing the right thing, because if you take those breaks, unless you do something other than smoke, you're going to take that break, you're going to sit there and you're going to think about cigarettes, you know? You're going to be like, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, like twiddling your thumbs. So, I mean, you replace the breaks with getting ahead on work projects. Yeah. Hey, that's good. Yeah. Maybe eventually you take a break to go for a walk. Or something like around the building.
I will say that when I work from home, I do a lot of times my lunch break for the day is my treadmill.
Yeah, that's great.
When I go to the office, I don't get a chance to do the treadmill. But when I'm at home, I do my treadmill for 30 minutes, do my thing. Cool. It clears my head. Yeah. I can think through things. I have my music I listen to. I know exactly when the speed's going up and when it's slowing down. I got my whole system set,
I love that.
And that's cool. To me, that's very, very helpful.
Yeah.
And we just recently got a punching bag.
Oh,
And my husband's going to teach me how to use it.
we were just talking about Psycho-Cybernetics, which is an amazing book, and it's about releasing frustration. And it was written in the 60s, and the author says, punch something. Like even back in the day.
Okay.
They were saying, like, he was saying weightlifting, explosive push-ups, and even punching.
Yep.
And so that's great. You're going to like picture your problems on the punching bag and just get it all out.
It's funny because when I got married to my husband, he did not know that I will either sing the music when I'm on the treadmill or I will have conversations, plot out my conversations that I'm going to have to deal with later in the day.
Oh, that's great.
Like have it myself and imagine what they're going to answer
Role
and
play.
respond.
Role play by yourself. Yeah.
And he was like, every once in a while he'd walk up the stairs and he'd just look. Like, you know how the dogs do that thing?
Yeah, the head
kind of give me
tilt.
that little head tilt, take it then. And then one time I was singing, I think it was like Another One Bites the Dust or something, some 80s jam that's really good with the beat for the treadmill. And I look over and he's just smiling, watching me. And I'm just like, Another One Bites the Dust.
Yeah, he's got entertainment right there.
Because I'm shy.
Sure.
So let's say we have a military spouse. Doesn't matter if they are new to it, if they've been in it for a while, and they're kind of struggling and they're looking to get their identity back, to build their brand, to do things. What are some helpful hints you can give them to like start on that path, getting it going right?
Yeah. So I'll kind of bring it back to when I mentioned like Brian has always been thinking about what he has to do, what he's kind of conditioned to do. And now we're getting his brain working and what do you want to do? I think for a lot of people in general, but maybe even military spouses as well, are thinking again, what they have to be doing and then what they don't want to be doing, what they don't want to be doing. That's where our brain usually goes is like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to work this kind of job.
Right.
I don't want to work this kind of job. I don't want to do this. I don't want to spend my days doing this. Okay. We didn't ask what you don't want. We want to ask what you do want.
And that's good because, you know, there have been studies that show if you say to someone, don't do this, they hear the do this part. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to highlight something that way.
Mm-hmm. The brain, and then I will even get metaphysical with it because I really believe
sassy.
in energetics. And so the brain and the universe, they don't understand the difference between do and don't. They just understand the attention that you're giving something. So if you say, I don't want to work in an office job, well, your brain, the universe is going to be attracting themes of office jobs to you. I don't want to smoke the cigarette. Well, you're just giving attention to cigarettes. So you're always going to be thinking about that. You're going to be recognizing that. Anyway, so as you start to think, what do I want? You're going to start giving attention to that. And you might just draw blanks at first.
Okay.
It might be like, whew, now I'm aware that I've just been thinking about what I don't want all day long and what I have to do. So let me trust myself that I'm going to get done what I have to do and that I can just let go of the things that I don't want, let those kind of fade into the darkness and start to really fantasize, what do I want? How do I want to spend my days? And do things like, it might sound hokey, but like visualize yourself getting up in the morning and being excited and then say, what am I excited about? And there might be like really random thoughts that come to your mind. I'm sure at one point it was the same for me where I said, well, maybe I'm doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was the same for you. Like you would think, what do I want? You would see yourself in a podcast studio. You would hear your voice on.
I want Homefront Harmony to be a worldwide phenomenal sensation and to change the lives of every service family out there. That's what I want.
Yeah, girl. Okay. She didn't just stumble upon that one day not thinking about what she wants.
Yeah.
She came upon that idea, that mission statement, that desire by saying, you can have whatever you want. Mm-hmm. Let your heart dream. Mm-hmm. Let your mind soar into places. And like, there's nothing different between you and somebody who does the successful dream-oriented things other than that belief. And then like the implementation, the like taking action steps to reach out, find a podcast studio. You know, I'm just using that as an example. Like whatever it is that you want to create in your life, those big fantasies are going to feel like, me? Like, really? Can I do that? Like, here I am, just a military spouse. Like, yeah, you can do anything as long as you keep questioning, like, what do you authentically want? And then do that. Maybe it's not something huge, but I agree with you. We should all be building our little personal brand.
Absolutely.
And no matter what our role is in our everyday life, we should all be building our personal brand. So what is that personal brand of yours do in their free time that is amazing and fun and unique and fulfilling and purposeful? And I think start there. And that's kind of a big chunk, a big bite to take, but it helps you get aware.
Means we have to have you come back and then
Yes,
we'll go
please.
through the other steps.
Yeah,
That's all. So, okay,
yeah.
personal brand. Tell us, how do they get connected with you?
Yeah,
how do they
thank
find
you. Well, my company is called Magnify Progressive Wellness. So on Instagram, you can find me at Magnify Maggie.
Okay.
Magnify, just like the magnifying glass, Magnify Maggie. I also have the Unsoberly Sober Show, which is a podcast. Anywhere that you get your podcast or the video version is on YouTube at the Magnify Maggie station or channel rather. But yeah, I mainly kind of reach out and talk with people about health, habits, mental health, as well as physical health. I think physical health caters to the mental health.
It does.
Both of them pour into each other's buckets. So that's what I love to focus on. But I usually communicate with people via Instagram. So anytime you want, reach out, DM me at Magnify Maggie. Website is magnifypw.com if you want some information on programs, help, mental health, things like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I
Thank
love
you
your
so much.
emphasis on mental health. So thank you for bringing that to your place and your audience too. I think we all need to be talking about this.
100%. And in pure candor, I'm going to be 49 in a few weeks. And I am on this kick to be fit for 50. And it's just something I want to do. It is not for anybody else but me. And I love it. And I'm excited about it. And that's where I'm going from. This Homefront Harmony, all this is my brand because it's something I want to do. So just driving it forward. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Stevie. This has been great. This
Absolutely.
is so fun.
Now, guys, you know what you need to do, right? You're going to like, you're going to follow, you're going to share, you're going to subscribe, you're going to tell everybody you know about this amazing podcast so they come see us. Homefront Harmony. We are going to see you next time. Love you guys. Have a great rest of your day.